Welcome to Radio Boomers Live, otherwise known as RBL, a show that incorporates baby boomers and millennials' ideas and perspectives.
With the hottest news, reviews, and interviews, and guidance on the transition of brick and mortar to click and order. And now I'm proud to introduce former veteran, military police, and a member of Knights of Columbus, my dad, James Zuley.
And my son, chairman and CEO of eZWay Network, known as the Digital Dick Clark, Eric Zuley. Good morning, Radio Boomers Live listeners. Good morning, Radio Boomers Live listeners around the world. Good morning to our eZWay family. You know who you are all over the world. And good morning to the superstar host of the show, and that's Eric Zuley. He doesn't like that introduction, but that's what he is. He's the one who created all this.
No, I'm not the stupid superstar host of the show. That would be you, Mr. James Zuley, my dad.
Eric, so much tech going on today. You're keeping up with this stuff, but it seems like, and I've repeated this before, every day you wake up, it could be something new out there in the world of tech or AI. It's going fast. You got to keep.
It really is. The AI world. I mean, really, there's so many tools now that literally does your whole business for you, and you just need to know the right sites, the right tools, the right guidance. But hey, we want to encourage everybody to click the share button, the like button, and comment. We're on eZWay.tv, live streaming television network. We're up to 1,700 views on our live channel now. Brand new website, 887 likes. So we just wanted to appreciate you guys for that. And today's show is going to be a real special one. Today's show is going to be a real
absolutely
amazing guest that's going to give you guys really insightful information. And this is one of those shows that are very interactive, and you want to take advantage of it as much as possible. Because this gentleman knows how to get you to seven figures. This gentleman has gotten many other businesses and other people to seven figures. He knows television. He knows all industries. He knows investments. He knows business. So you guys are going to be able to learn a lot, and make sure that you take advantage of it and comment, like, and share, do all that fun stuff. So this is Radio Boomers Live. If you guys aren't familiar with it, we're on ezway.tv, we're on Roku TV, we're on Apple TV, we're on Amazon Fire, we're on Google Play, we're on Apple Store, we're on LG, we're on Samsung, all simultaneously. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, pretty much everywhere you can be on. And you guys need to follow us on Instagram by searching the eZWay family, hashtag eZWay family, and connect with us if you want to get involved, and connect with me, Eric Zuley, on Instagram, eZWay family. And then this show is brought to you by Better Vision for Children, bvccharity.org. We support kids that need eyesight prevention, screening, testing, as well as adults. So, we're kind of doing it with everybody at this point. Dad, you're just incredible. You've done what, like
8 Eric, I was out in Hawthorne, and I tested for, let's see, it was with the California Kids Site Program, 4,850 children. But the fact is that 25% of every 1,000 we tested had been diagnosed with a situation. So you could do the math. That's only about 5,000. Now go across the state, across the country. That's literally millions of kids that need to be looked into as far as their eyesight goes. And we bring awareness, thanks to Eric, to BBC. And then we're going to start reaching out to the testing, because I'm totally upgrading to the latest technology, all the test components that we need. And the more we get, the more we can test.
I agree 100%. And thank you to the city and county of Orange County for all their support, and all of our sponsors, All Aboard Limousine Service.com, ReliefAlliance.org, the OWL referral, the OWL app. I mean, you can get paid to help other people. In fact, Jeff, I think you're going to like the OWL app when I tell you about it, if you don't know about them. But all right, it's Hot Topic time to go to Hot Topics, and we're going to go a quick commercial break. You're going to learn a little bit more about the eZWay interactive app and how you can be a part of our community. And when we come back, we're going to get into a little bit of the RBL news, reviews, and then we're going to get to the interview with our very special guest coming up soon, Jeffrey Hayzlett.
eZWay Interactive. Start connecting the eZWay. Are you ready to connect like never before? Introducing the eZWay Interactive app, your ultimate social solutions network. Whether you're looking to network, collaborate, or simply share ideas, eZWay makes it easy to engage with like-minded individuals and organizations. Discover innovative solutions, join exciting discussions, and expand your horizon, all in one powerful platform. Don't miss out on the future of social networking. Download eZWay Interactive now and unlock endless possibilities.
Absolutely, guys. And we got some hot topics there. People are planning to travel for the summer, but check out where you're going. I always tell you that for storms and so on and so forth. They're talking about going to Morocco, Cancun, Las Vegas, Europe, and of course, Southern California. But in the Midwest, eastern states, we're talking about some high heat dome, they call it. Temperatures 100 degrees or up. So if you're not into the heat, maybe better plan a different place, maybe the Antarctic. So we got Israel has been striking Iran for a while, trying to knock out the nuclear capabilities. And there was several locations that they didn't have the technology to get deep enough. So now U.S. comes in and they destroy top 3 nuclear sites, the Forlong, the Natanz, and the Estim, with an Operation Midnight Hammer. The mission involves 7 of the largest bombs, although not nuclear. They are the most powerful, and only the U.S. has them. They're 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs, known as massive ordnance penetrators. And the U.S. issued a worldwide caution alert about possible retaliation. And we have border crossings were in the thousands. Now they're down into the single digits. And there's a word going out that if people that are here and if they're not registered correctly, they receive $1,000, go back and come in legally, they'll be fine. Some are what I told you. We're gonna go into that a little bit deeper on deals you can get, places you can go that you really don't need a lot of money to travel. There's all kinds of deals and hotels. I'm going to go into that in another segment. We got Lake Tahoe, unusual situation. It's normally a calm lake, but they had a big storm there. It was big enough, 8-foot swells turned a 25-foot power boat over, capsized. It killed 6 people and injured 2. That's very unusual for a lake up there like that. And then we have the Oklahoma Thunder beat the Pacers 103-91. And dramatic. It was quite an exciting game. LA Lakers are to be sold. They're selling the LA Lakers that was owned by the bus company to Mark Walter for $10 billion. And he also owns the LA Dodgers. So how about that, Eric?
Wow. It's funny. We seem to get a lot of sports support. The LA Clippers supports Better Vision for Children, the owner before the former owner, and then you got the information on the LA Dodgers. And but I couldn't really hear you, Dad, because your head was so much into the piece of paper that you were reading. Your microphone.
Okay.
It was great information. Honestly, it really was. The Hot Topics is always great here on Radio Boomers Live. Make sure you subscribe to RBLLive.com, guys. If you're liking the show, if you want to get involved, if you want to be a guest on the show, we are one of the top promotional agencies pretty much in the world. We've been told by third-party validation. And go to RBLLive.com to subscribe. But without further ado, can you hear me okay? Is the music level?
You.
Okay, good.
We can hear the music.
Yeah, we want to hear the music, but okay. So coming up next is our special guest, Jeffrey Hayzlett. And Jeffrey Hayzlett is a maverick in like global business and leadership. He's a global business celebrity, esteemed speaker, and former Fortune 100 C-suite executive, recognized for his bold strategies, marketing brilliance, entrepreneur spirit. And so his career spans from decades, he's left his mark in business and all sizes, from startups to global enterprises. by driving transformational change and leveraging innovative leadership as a pioneer in using corporate platforms to elevate brand visibility and drive revenue. He's earned the title of the Celebrity CMO by Forbes for his groundbreaking work in marketing and media. So, there's so much to his resume. He's seen on CBS, ABC, Fox, NBC, just like me. He's got me beat on Canada's CBC and UK's BBC and Israel and China, and he's global. I mean, he's making global impact around the world. He's making it happen in a big way, and it's an honor to have him on the show. So, without further ado, let's bring him to the show and welcome him with a proper welcome. This chairman of C-Suite Network himself, Jeffrey Hayzlett.
Well, Jeffrey, thanks for coming on. I don't know if you're a baby boomer yet, but I used to say,
I am. By the way, I am a baby boomer.
You're
I'm
a
at the tail end. Yeah.
Jeff, I used to say, thanks for coming on and slowing down for us baby boomers. That's when Retha was on with me. But then when Eric hooked up, it picked up the pace a little bit, just to let you know.
That's awesome. Of course, Eric, I got to say, you said I help people to 7 figures. Now about like 10, 11, 12, because I've done that too. My last company was 187 billion. So I just want to point that out. I don't want you to shortchange me in any way, man.
My bad, Jeffrey. I've only gotten to 7 figures, so my brain only computes that right now. So I'm not there yet. That's why we need to learn how to get there today on today's show. But that's just incredible. In fact, tell us the story. Tell us more on what you learned along the way and how you got to. I mean, 7 figures is tough, but to get to that level, wow.
And by the way, let's just be clear. Any figure is tough. To be profitable in today's world, to be growing your business is always tough. Don't ever just measure yourself by the numbers, by the zeros, because it doesn't make a difference. Whether you're on Wall Street or whether you're on Main Street in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where I'm from, it's a tough thing to do. I'm in my New York office today, but it's a difficult thing to do business. It's not for the weak at heart. And so anybody that succeeds, I'm just a thumbs up for you, pats on the back. Big hug if you need it, because there are days when, I woke up this morning just cranky as a bear, because of all the stuff I had to get done today. And, I had to apologize to a couple of my staff members because I said, I'm really cranky this morning. So I know what it's like. It's a little tough.
Jeff, to be honest, we're talking about a tech thing here with C-Suite and so on. I think people, I love the beard, the white beard, but maybe some people weren't expecting somebody to come on that has this tech and is keeping up with a white beard. They're probably expecting what was it a lot of credit to you for doing all this stuff. Why, how come somebody your age, a lot of people I run into, they're just not quite keeping up like they should. What got you on track?
Yeah, I'm a digital native trapped in a baby boomer body. That's the way I would probably describe it. I like new things. I like learning. I have 3 conditions for satisfaction. 1, build wealth, because that's how we keep score. The dollars, the things that we do. So building wealth, and wealth can be measured in a lot of different ways, not just around the money. Also about my time with my family, my impact, and everything else, which you guys just do an unbelievable job with the give backs you're doing with Vision and a lot of other charities, because I know you're helping lots of other charities and a lot of people. The second thing is I like to learn new things. And so that's a big part of what I do is I'm always, challenging myself and challenging those around me to learn new things, because I think if the day you stop learning is the day you start dying. And then the third thing is I want to have fun. You know this, Jim, if you've been around for a while, I want to surround myself with people I like. I'm actually doing a big development down in an island off of Honduras with some partners. And somebody said to me the other day, let's talk to so-and-so. I said, no, I don't want him on the island. I don't want him near our island. I don't want, I only want to surround myself with people that I really like and enjoy and respect. So those are the kind of things that drive me every day. So when you say, hey, this older guy, and obviously I've got some gray hair, although some of that I think was prematurely caused by the time I was struck by lightning years and years ago. That was a different subject.
Well, Jeff, I got to give you some advice there. You don't go out on a golf course with your irons on a cloudy, thundery day.
You know, I wish I could say that was the case, but I was in my house, and I must have really ticked off the big guy because it went through the house in right to where I was touching when it hit. That was a bad day in the prairies of South Dakota.
You really got struck by lightning?
It's a true story. You know, I used to be magnetic personality. Now I'm electrifying, Eric. So,
and now you're electrifying.
But that's a true story. I lived, you know, when they rushed to my house caught on fire, and they rushed to the house. The firemen came in, did what they had to do, and they took me and grabbed an ambulance and took me to the hospital. And I don't know, 4 hours later, I walked out of there and stopped by Kentucky Fried Chicken, bought a couple of buckets of chicken, and met my family at home. That's what I did.
I love it. That's you know, Jeff, when we get up, we have, like, when we graduated high school, did we have any idea what was ahead, right?
No. You know, I like to think, you know, I was very involved in politics. I enjoyed doing politics and speaking and by the way, selling. I love that, marketing and selling. But I had no idea. I just knew I was going to do something, and I was going to try to do it as big as I could. And then just one thing led me to another. You know, a lot of times people ask you in these interviews, two things. They always say, what's the biggest mistake you ever made? And I always tell everybody, I don't know. I haven't made it yet. What I mean by that is I'm always going to make a bigger one. So it's just like whatever one I had before, I'll make a bigger one coming up. And then the other thing is, what was your plan? Like, my plan was to eat, you know, that was my plan, and to stay alive. And so, but yeah, as I got in, I'm just a kid from South Dakota. That's, you know, I grew up in South Dakota. My father was in the military as well, Jim. And so, you know, he was a sergeant in the Air Force, and I was lucky, lived a lot of great places in my life, and met a lot of great people. And that just let me to give me some skills that came in very helpful in the business world. And so I've been just really hustling ever since.
You know, well, I want to go into those skills, Jeffrey. I mean, when I interviewed you, you know, we and by the way, guys, make sure you check out Instagram at eZWay Family. You'll see my interview with Jeffrey Hayzlett, where we met at the Top Talent Hollywood event, and you had some really great things to say about media. I think a lot of people actually learned specific, like you talked about how it's 8 minutes of content, 2 minutes of commercial, 8 minutes of content, 2 minutes commercial, 8 minutes content, 2 minutes commercial, and how important it was, or how important it is, to specifically, you know, stay on point, stay on that time frame for television. And we have a lot of people that do podcasting, a lot of people that do television, a lot of people that want to be speakers, a lot of people that want to learn from you. And I want to get into the Jeffrey Hayzlett basics of influence to income, you know, which I want to have you on that summit coming up too. So, like, give us an idea of some tidbits of information that you've learned along the way, as far as, you know, people being a small business, then wanting to make money, but utilizing media specifically.
Yeah, well, I think today you have to become a media company. I don't care whether you're a dry cleaner in St. Louis. If, you know, you got 119 other dry cleaners in St. Louis, you got to stand apart from everybody else, and you can't use rented land to do that, which means, you know, I don't want to spend money on yellow pages and things of the old days, but even the new days are those of Google pages and so forth. I want to build content that people want to see. So I'm going to tell you how to get spots out of a jacket, or how to get blood out of a pair of jeans or something. So I become known as the doctor of spots. And by becoming the doctor of spots, I own the category. And that's the key, I think, is that you want to look at media about how do I look at content for people searching for high intent to buy, and or high intent to, you know, hire you or use you or do whatever. And so I look at content in that way, and I look at the delivery mechanism. I don't just do it for where I want to see it. I do it for where my customers want to see it. So why I might not use Facebook or this or that, I go to where my audiences are and where my people are, and I provide it in that fashion. And the other thing I think, Eric, for most people to realize is you want to capture customer behavior, not change it, you know, capture it, and that's why, you know, I was telling people, hey, look, TV works this way. And if you want to be on TV, you got to format it for TV. And you can do it any way you want. Let's be clear. I mean, you could be successful, but most people, to be very successful, are going to capture customer behavior, fit a square peg into a square hole, or, you know, square spot, and not do it the other way around, not do a round peg into a square hole, because you want to be able to make things as frictionless as possible for people to find you, to get greater reach, discovery, and conversion, because that's the name of the game in the end, is converting and getting and winning. So content leads to communities, and then communities leads to a marketplace, or in this case, commerce.
I love that. I would say it's content first, and then it's consistency, and then it's community, which leads into currency. And so I love how we think on the same wavelength. So you talked about social media and platforms. What do you think? And I know a lot of social media is going to hate me for asking this question. What do you think is the best social media platform right now, and why?
It's the ones that my customers buy from, for whatever they are. I mean, I do very well. I mean, that's the way I would answer. I mean, I've literally almost checked off of Facebook, except for my public profile personally, just because of the feeds that are going on there and so forth. But that doesn't mean I still love it. I like it. I've just learned to stay away from it. Instagram's becoming, something for mine. But at the same time, I've got 500,000 or more people following him on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. They're still in their own brand flux of what it is. But if I were to go live right now on my Twitter account, I'd have 10, 20,000 people who would join us live. So, at the same time, you could say, hey, that's really good. But it's not so much that you want to look at the numbers. I love numbers. And I remember you giving your numbers at the top of the show. By the way, congratulations, because you're in the upper tier of where people are, but the key isn't about eyeballs and ears. It's about hearts and minds. I don't need the right 50,000 or the right 500,000. I need the right 5 or the right 50. And if you focus in on that, because then it's really truly about me talking to you and having this, one-to-one conversation, even though it might be one-to-many, I'm really trying to get to the bottom line, get to the conversions. And conversions could come in a lot of different ways: joining my community, being involved, following, interacting, engagement. And that's what I want to measure, is those things.
Better to have a few good group of friends than 1,000 acquaintances, right?
Exactly right. You want to know who to call when they come pick up you, come help you move the couch with a pickup. You might have 1,000 friends, but you only got really 10 good ones with a pickup truck.
There's been big transition periods. We don't quite go back this far, but when everybody was being told about this, horse and buggy thing, and then the automobile, and we're going, oh, I'm sticking to the horse and buggy. But then if you saw pictures of the streets back then, you could see slowly but surely all the horses started fading away. And then another little analogy would be, they'll never get rid of the payphones. We have to get the payphones. Then you start driving around, you see less and less. Now we're in this, you really have to be ready for the transition. And what's going on now with all this intercommunication and so on, because if you don't, you'll wind up with, I won't mention their names, but so many companies that faded away because they didn't keep up,
Well, one of those companies I led as well, or tried to save, and that was Kodak. We forgot what we were and tried to hang in there for a great deal of time. But that's, that's what happens to companies that don't see it and then react to it. It's one thing to see it, it's another thing to react to it and actually act on it. And so, we're in another one of those time periods with AI. Quite frankly, everybody knows it's coming. But what we have to do is the companies that do well, even in the most difficult areas, are the ones that focus in on delivering real value. And if you're delivering value and you're focused in on the people that you're serving, you're going to do well. Who would have thought that 25 years ago, and literally it's about 25 years ago, that somebody would be saying, hey, you can rent out my house and sit naked on my couch and you'll pay me for it, right? I mean, who would have thought those kinds of things? Or that you would let your daughter get, she's been out drinking all night, and you let your daughter get in the car of a man you don't know and drives her home. I mean, those are things that you can think about that changed over a period of time. But if you're delivering great value, it's really important to be able to focus on that.
I think when you mentioned AI, I used to say, I think we have a bull by the horns with this AI. That was back then. Now I think, well, what's going to happen. You're going to be thrown somewhere. With this AI, this is a totally new entity. And I don't know if anybody realizes it's going to be a major positive, but we have to keep hold of this thing.
With any good disruptive time, there's good and there's bad.
Yeah.
And so what we have to do is, I think, as leaders, yourself included, is focus in on those things that are, what is it that we want it to do, and how do we look at all the things that could be bad, and how can we prevent it, at the same time allowing all the good things to occur, because there's some really good things that occur. I mean, I'm using AI every single day.
Absolutely.
I'm using it very effectively for sales. I'm using it very effectively for some content, although I'm constantly trying to put a layer over it and in it and around it that's human first. Because I think we also have to keep that in mind, that we have to think about human first. And content's one of those things too. And I know you guys have been experimenting with some of those things with AI. We've been experiencing it or experimenting with it. But I'm also trying to figure out the right kinds of, I don't know, bumper. I call it bumpers that you want to put around it, like in a bumper car for a kid. You don't want a kid, driving car when they're 3 or 4 years old, but you don't mind them with bumper cars. Yeah. So I think that's kind of what we have to do right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Jeffrey, that's so well, and that is what we have to do. And AI really, I think honestly, people just need to be educated. I mean, AI is education at this point, because it is a new wave of the future. And I'm going to give you guys a little tip of success and see if you agree with this, Jeffrey. There's 3 things of where this world is going to, and that's number 1 is going to be AI. Number 2 is social media. Number 3 is actually gold-backed digital currency. And I want to take you down that lane. See, I knew I'd get a smile from that one.
Yeah. No, I think gold's spot on right now. I mean, look how much it's increased over the last number of years. I've been one of those guys. I was buying gold back when it was about 140 an ounce. And been buying ever since, and then selling and then buying again. I remember when I dumped out of it at $2,000. I thought it'll never go up. It'll never go up. And but yet I'm talking to people who are building some of the biggest gold vaults in the world to store gold, and out in Wyoming and a couple of other places. So it's amazing.
Well, I'm a shareholder of a company. Dad, you've had enough mic time. It's my turn.
Dueling, the battling duo here.
I'm a shareholder of a company that owns the patent for gold-backed digital currency in the U.S. And I think that everything is really going there. I think that it's going to cryptocurrency. I think that a lot of the what do you think about the way the world's shifting, and where, like, people are saying that the dollar is going to be gone and it's going to be digital. It's going to be decentralized tokens and every bank right now is going down that lane, so what do you think of that?
I think moves like that, when it comes to changing the way in which we have run a system for thousands of years, and in our cases for a few hundred years, where we become the standard for most currencies around the world, it takes a while for that to change. And that's a very volatile kind of change if you think about it, because you're messing with people's security, and which we know in the hierarchy of needs is probably one of the biggest, along with food and shelter and those things. So you've got to kind of consider how that all does and what the education's got to occur. Can people be educated to it and so forth? So, will it happen? I think without question, we're going to see a lot of major changes that are going to happen. But I remember, in the Roman times, they walked around with pieces of 8 and pieces of gold and pieces of silver, and things were done in a different way. And then we kind of evolved over a period of time. And I think that's going to happen with this as well.
I agree. And the way that we're transitioning, it seems like it's a podcast world. It's a speaker's world. And again, everything I say, I'm getting good smiles from Jeffrey. So I must be going down the right direction here. And you were talking about.
But let's be clear though, Eric, too. For most people, let's think about speaking. Let's talk about podcasting. Let's talk about being an author. For most people, you got to realize that's not a destination. For a few of it's a destination. I make money. I film my show at the New York Stock Exchange. I'll be filming 5 episodes this week here in New York, and I get sponsor money. I get this. I get that. That's a destination. I can make a living just doing that. I've sold millions of books. I can make that's a destination. But for most of us, we want to look at these are trusted medium. Whether it's a podcast, a TV show, a blog, a book, and the content, but you got to use it as a tool. And so you need some great coaches like Eric and Jim and team that can help you get from here to here, and to utilize these things, and understand You're not going to be the next Joe Rogan. I mean, that's maybe, I hope you are, but but you can still use them very effectively. So don't get your hopes up. Don't look for the fame model. Look for the fortune model is the way I describe it. So look for the model that's going to get you where you want, the way you want it, and give you the kind of margins and returns that you want.
That's well said. And I want to kind of go down. You said before we were talking about social media, and you were supposed to tell people to go to eZWay Interactive. That was like your cue, by the way.
Of course.
Well, sorry, I blew that one. It's right there on their screen. They should know where to go.
Yeah. But you're on the app, you're on the platform, and we're more of a private invite only platform. And I saw where social media was going. I saw where I think the community is really everything as far as building currency. Would you agree? I mean, let's talk a little bit about community 100%. Influence and then income.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I've been saying, hey, content leads to community, and it's always been about community. People say, I mean, I hear salespeople get up and talk and say it's all about relationships. I said, when did it stop? It never should have stopped. It never has stopped. And for people who build strong communities, and even when I was the chief marketing officer of a Fortune 100 company, I was using content, although I was using advertising primarily to drive a message and to get to millions, hundreds of millions of people around the globe, to drive them in to buy our product through a community by becoming, part of our community in some way, shape, or form. And that's how they acted. Now with social media and other ways, I mean, you can get the chess clubs together. You can get people who speak Klingon together. You can get, very vertical groups, and that's what you want. So there's which we have to focus in on, I think, Eric, and people need to understand, is there's riches in the niches. And those niches are those communities that you build and you nurture by nurturing them and having other people go out and bring in other people because they say, hey, have you gone to this meeting? Have you seen this? Have you seen this content? Have you read this book? Have you read this article? Have you listened to this podcast? I mean, that's the real growth, and that's the real, the real interaction that occurs. And then it's about measuring engagement. You want engagement, not numbers, not any of that, not eyeballs, but engagement. And then the engagement becomes impact or in this case, commerce for a lot of us.
I love it. Can I use that one? Riches in the niches. Even our fans are jumping on that one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I didn't invent it. I once heard it from somebody else, and I should, if I knew who it was, I make sure that I give them the
credit
for it. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Dad, the mic's yours. I'm not going to steal it anymore. Go ahead.
No, the interaction used to be frustrating for a lot of people. They would listen to radio and think, oh, wouldn't that be cool to maybe go to the station and get on as a host, or watch a show and become a guest on a show. It was just about impossible. Now the opportunities out there for the interaction for everybody, and it's exploding. This is such a new area for this. But everybody's got an opportunity to be a superstar. Everybody's got an opportunity to be a host. Everybody's got an opportunity to be a primetime television star or a headliner. I've got one podcast. It's called The Stroke of Genius on our C-Suite radio network, and which is our podcast. We also have TV. And it's Aaron Avila. Aaron, right before COVID, had a stroke. It almost devastated him, almost killed him. He talks about some very, very bleak times in his life. He got involved in our community. Now he has a podcast called The Stroke of Genius, where he actually interviews people and families around stroke. He interviews stroke victims who are now stroke champions. And, what a message, what a way to be able to do it. And everybody has the ability to do that with this great content. I don't know if it's when you get older this happens, but I've never had so many calls and emails about people that are sharing what happened to them in the last week or whatever with the strokes and the heart attacks and the open heart and so on and so forth. Just seems to, I don't know if you've noticed that, but it seems like a lot of people are dealing with health issues now. And
there's a lot of health issues going on right now. And I'm just going to say it straight up. There's things that's going in the air. There's things that's going in the food. You need to be, knowledgeable and what foods to eat, what foods not to eat. And you need to naturally know how to heal yourself when things are coming out. What do you think about on the health side of that, Jeffrey? Like what's your day to day? How do you stay healthy and wealthy?
Well, I just started an exercise. I'm a former athlete way back, and played rugby, played football, did all those things. And then for years didn't do anything. And only in the last about month, I've started working out again, and I'm absolutely loving it. I get up at 5:30 in the morning, 3 days a week, work hard for half an hour. I got a coach, and I got some friends involved, and I never felt better. And at the same time, I said a number of months ago as well, I said, look, I'm going to start getting healthier. And so I only drink, water, wine, or whiskey. That's it. That's all I'm drinking. And then, which is not a bad way to live. And then I only eat things that are natural. I don't want anything that's been injected. I typically stay away from all the chains because I want to go to local places. I love to get the business, and I love things like that. And, I'm just trying to be healthier. I want to live. I got 3 grandbabies, all 3 girls. And, I want to put my imprint on them, so to speak. I want them to know who their papa is. And I want to stick around. And by the way, I'm pretty young, and I got another 20 years of business left in me before I'm probably out of this business, but I'm having more fun now than I've ever had in my life. So I kind of like to stick around.
Jeff, why are you having more fun now specifically? Because you're still young. And I mean, and let's go over an overview of all the things that you're doing. You have the C-Suite network. You're the chairman of that. You were very much involved with the DocuSign. I think you were like one of the founding advisory board members or something.
Yeah, founding advisory board member. I did that, and I serve on 12 corporate boards a day, 4 public companies. And probably have another 20 or 30 that are trying to get me on their board. I'm enjoying that kind of thing. I'm building a development down in Roatan off the coast of Honduras, which is a blast, with a partner of mine that I met just a few months ago. I got a podcast that's now and television show I'm filming on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. And, I get to see my family. I get to see my wife. I get to see my grandchildren. I'm having a blast. I mean, what more don't you like? And by the way, and I'm doing it now where I'm smarter than I used to be. Everybody always asks, what would you do with a 25-year-old self? I said, speed it up faster, get smarter and bigger and quicker and, and meaner and rougher and tougher and, all the things you need to do for business. At the same time, don't get me wrong about being compassionate and caring for people, because I think that's, there's a saying somebody once said when you get to the top, you got to send the elevator back down for everybody else. And so I think there's a real strong need for that, for everybody to do that. And I do my best to do that. So I'm having an ability of clarity that's much, just seen with age, seen with experience. Eric, I can walk into a meeting with business people and say, that's bullshit, that's fake, that's real, because you've seen it before. And you have a good sense and a good sense of feel and chemistry of who can do it, who can't. Those kind of things, not to put filters on people, but been there, done that. And, I bought and sold over 250 businesses, about $25 billion in transactions. When you've done those kinds of things, you kind of get a sense for it. And so now I'm focusing in on just those things that I want to do. My father, I'm now older than when my father passed. Now, he had Agent Orange, was served in Vietnam for three tours, was gone a lot of years from my family. And I just, I don't want to do that. I like to be around a lot more, just if nothing else, but to piss off the people that don't like me. I'm okay with that. Just for that.
And Jeffrey, you mentioned the elevator. I always shared with Eric, you need hard work, determination, and drive, but without faith, morals, and ethics, it's a waste of time. And I believe, like the elevator thing with the faith, comes a little responsibility and accountability. I don't believe we're here to be lukewarm, Yeah. So reaching out is a good thing,
Well, an old book, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People by Stephen Covey, an old friend of mine years ago. I hit the speaking circuit when I was 26 years old. So I got to hang out with people like Zig Ziglar and Bill Brooks and, Brian Tracy and Og Mandino and so many others. And even Stephen Covey, but he wrote, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, which is still as relevant today as it was 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And, one of the things he says, you have to have a balance, Jim, just like you said, you got to have a balance. You got to have health. You have to have friends. You have to have family. You have to have work. I would add one other one of that. And that's the 5 things, not the 4 things. The 5th would be health. I would add health to that. You've got to really start taking care of yourself and be there. Cause I don't want to be a burden to my family. I want to be an asset. And I want to, and by the way, I've finally gotten to the point where, hey, I'm making, making great money. Of course, I made my first million when I was 26, but I still want to have fun. I still want to do those kinds of things.
You know, you mentioned health. I just saw one from a guy who's been researching for 60 years, and he just said one word. He said muscle. We got to keep the muscle tone. If you have muscle, you're going to live longer. But I'll tell you one thing that comes above that that's really interesting is just what you're doing, what Eric's doing, and for the longevity thing, it's purpose. When you wake up, even more so than health and exercise, when you wake up and your mental thing is, I have this to do, I have this to accomplish, he said that adds longevity because you never stop, you know?
Yeah, I go to bed every night hoping I'll hurry up and sleep so I can get started the next morning.
There you go.
I love it.
I mean, that's my mantra. I really want to go. Whether it's working on my ranch back in South Dakota or it's, coming to the office in New York. Most people come to the office in New York at 9. I was here at 6:15 this morning. So, and here we are right now at 2:45 and I'm still going strong and I've got appointments all the way to 7. And I'll work probably a little bit later just because my family's not with me today. So I get a chance to work a little longer.
Well, Jeff, I want to point out to a lot of the viewers right now, they're watching your Instagram so people can go follow you at Jeffrey Hayzlett. If they're liking the show, you guys can look up a lot of what they post and what they're doing. And look, you even got some promotion for eZWayTV. We appreciate that.
There you go. Look at that.
So make sure everybody goes and supports and goes and follows Jeffrey Hayzlett's Instagram. Second thing is we will be putting you up on the celebrity section pretty soon. This is fairly recent that we've just added, but you can look up Jeffrey on the eZWay Wall of Fame, and you can actually connect with Jeffrey Hayzlett on many notes. I mean, we'll probably have him on more of our stages. We'll be doing a lot of different things with Jeffrey. You can click on actually review and leave him a review if you like this interview. You can also connect with him and actually go to the app and actually reach out to him if you're liking what he's saying and what he's doing. You can friend him. Make sure you guys download the eZWay interactive app. And so, we want to, Jeffrey, we want to really create and take it to the next level, be innovators, be disruptors in like you talked about engagement and interactive. We want to take interactive to a whole nother level. And with that said, I think interactivity comes from story, right? And I want to take you down your path and go and hear a little bit of your story on the first opportunity, the first person, the first stepping stone that really took you from doing a 9 to 5 or doing what you got to do to get by to really opening up that success door. Like, wow, I just went to the next level. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was a guy named Mike O'Connor. I was running a small little PR firm. Mike O'Connor had run for governor in the state of South Dakota, a good friend of mine. He owned a print shop and I bought his print shop. I was doing over half my business, meaning half of his business was mine. And I went to him and said, hey, look, Mike, I got to either go start one of these printing operations or I'm going to buy yours. What's it going to be? And that's what we did. And so, but he taught me the value of going to a cash register and Zing out every day and doing a lot of different things that I didn't learn. And those things became a bigger part of my life. Measuring your progress every day. What did you do? How much did you do? How did that compare to last week? How did it compare for the month? How did that compare day by day? What was my average? And then also a bigger piece of that in terms of, how do I compare for the whole year?
Well, thank you for sharing that. And so what would you do if you could go back in time and you could talk to Jeffrey Hayzlett when that happened, or when other stepping stones, when other opportunities happened, to change anything in the past that could make something better in the present? What would you tell that Jeffrey to do?
So my third book was Think Big, Act Bigger. And that's what I would tell everybody. For a long time, I thought I was a big thing in South Dakota and, in my little town. Then I figured out I was a fairly big thing in the state. And I thought, I can do this in Iowa. I can do this in Chicago. I can do it. So a bigger thing is to be able to be a bigger thing. And that is, don't let the boundaries of certain things, whether it's your city, the industry that you're in, the borders of what you have, or even the dollars that you have available, think bigger to act bigger. That's one. And then the other thing I would tell everybody is to stop listening to the voices that you had when you were younger. Just, I stopped listening to voices a long time ago and, walk with a little bit more swagger.
The way
I love
in which
that.
you
Well,
think, the way in which you think determines the outcome. The way in which you believe solidifies it. As far as, so I totally agree with you on that one.
well said. And then also, as far as relationships go, I always say it's not who you know, it's not who knows you, it's how they know you. To be able to move, be able to move things, to be able to make influence happen, to be like, I mean, can you pick up the phone and call a Tony Robbins or a Les Brown and say, hey, can you come on my stage and support? Like what suggestions, what advice would you have?
Got their email. We email each other all the time, or we text each other all the time. Absolutely. I've known Les Brown for 45 or 50 years. So without question, it is about how they know you. And that gets back to values, by living your values. Anybody would tell you that anybody that knows I'm an unbelievable super connector. And my first thing I'll ask every time you call me on the phone is, how can I help you? What can I do for you? Even if somebody texts me on the phone, I don't know who they are. I write, how can I help you? And so my focus is always about serve it, because helping you helps me in some way, shape, or form. It always comes back. The more you give, the more you get. So think of it in terms of that, and you'll go a long way in this life.
I love that. So on a community perspective, because I said that, community is everything. What suggestions, what tips of advice would you suggest for keeping the community interactive and becoming like an affiliate to support your ultimate network? Because you have the C-suite network and you've done so well with that.
Well, we just got through having 600 C-suite executives and CEOs for 10 days in Dallas, and just left there. And it always gets back to two things. And I was talking about give, you get. Well, one of the things that we do in our community, everybody has to show up with a give. So when you hear that you're talking about this, or Jim, you might be talking about this with eyeglasses or doing this for vision or so forth, I happen to know one of the best surgeons in the world that's around this. He loves to give. Let me put you in touch. That's a give. So we always show up with gifts, always be looking for a give. And then don't be afraid for an ask. Be specific about some help that you might need. We all need a little help. We all need a little introduction. We all need something that will take us from here and put us here, or give us that little bump that we need to get us to the next level. So be ready for the ask. And it's okay to ask, especially with your friends and especially with a community that cares. And that's what we do at the C-Suite Network.
That's my Achilles heel. I love giving. What do you need? So on and so forth. But it's just impossible for me to ask for something. I don't know. It's a tough one.
What we're gonna do now, Jeff? We have 5 more minutes left on the show, and I just want to point out a couple of our supporters and sponsors and networks and syndication and distribution that support us. So we are on the iTube 247 network, and we have a channel on iTube 247. You guys can check out the Lisa Nichols speech. We'll be getting your talk up here pretty soon, Jeff, and we got about 16,173 views on this one. So I'm sure that you're gonna, we'll have a little competition. Is it Lisa Nichols or is it Jeffrey Hayzlett? Which one?
Nobody can beat Lisa. Lisa's the queen. She's awesome.
She is. She's amazing, and also her husband Marcellus. I really love her husband Marcellus. Both of them are really humble, just down to earth, successful people, and so I wanted to definitely give them a shout out. We also want to say thank you to the women's the eWoman network, the women's channel, Women on TV, all the women's organizations that support us, the Sitting County of Orange County, the county's offices, just everybody that presses the share button on the show. We so appreciate you guys. The Faith Channel is another one. The Faith Channel has been great. If you guys are into faith, make sure you search eZWayTV on the Faith Channel. And we appreciate All Aboard LimousineService.com, which is really helping us ride in style. So in closing, Jeff, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to just have the stage. We call this the Easy Talk. Okay, it's TED Talk time, right? This is the Easy Talk stage, to just give you the stage 100% and talk about creating your influence, but really turning your influence into income and the best ways of going about that, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, fantastic. Well, let me give you just a little bit of one, didn't know this was coming. So 2, this will be right off of the hip in terms of discussions. But one of the things that I did when I went to Eastman Kodak, and as I jumped on a plane a couple weeks early before anybody else, before I passed the urine test or anything, I just jumped on the plane. I was so excited to go to work for one of the most iconic companies in the world. And I remember sitting next to this young woman as I was flying there, and I was getting her to talk, you know, she's talking about herself and everything, and tell me what was going on. And finally she asked me, what do you do? And I finally told her I was the chief marketing officer at Eastman Kodak Company. And she said, who's that? And that's when I realized that I had a big job ahead of me. And when I got there, one of the things I did was started to meet with the teams. At that time, I had 7,000 marketing people, roughly a budget of $17 billion in marketing and sales spend. And I was trying to figure out, well, what do we have to do and how we got to do it? And in those kind of jobs, they're hiring you for your expertise. They're hiring you to make things and do things quickly. So I had to move very fast. And I remember pulling the teams together, and every day I would bring the teams in and start having these discussions in one of these rooms. I had one of these big clocks in the background, you could probably imagine, in one of these industrial buildings, because that's what we had. And I, of course, had to use those kinds of buildings to bring people in. But I went to the clock, and I got there early, and I changed the clock, and I moved the clock ahead by about 20 minutes. And the reason I did that, I wanted to see what people do when they came in the room, to see when this clock was behind me and the time was ahead. And so they look at their watch, they look at the clock, they look at their watch, they look at their phone, they look at the clock. And then they start talking to people saying, the clock's wrong, the clock's wrong. And they said, well, the clock's wrong. And I said, yeah, we move on. And so it just kept going. And so every day people would come in and still make comments about the clock and change and what was going on. And so, and finally I said, well, why doesn't someone do something about it? And a woman got up and she went over and she pulled a chair up underneath the clock, and she pulled up her dress and stood up on the chair. And then she reached up and she changed the clock. Well, I named her my chief of staff the very next day. Now I know she's running about $1 billion company, but what I was looking for is I'm looking for clock changers. And that's what most business people are. So my question, are you going to be the person that's talking about the clock, or are you going to be a clock changer? Are you going to be hiring people who sit around and form committees to call people to talk about the clock, or are you going to hire clock changers? And that's what I try to surround myself all the time. And I'll give you one more example of that. In my first chapter of the book on Think Big, my third book, is called the Caitlin Rule. I had a young woman who was working for me. She came up to me a few minutes before we'll leave here in New York City. We're heading over to the Grand Central Building. And she said, Mr. Hayzlett, should we bring color copies of the presentation? Because I was helping this company go public. I was on the board of the company. And, I'm taking them through the steps that we have to do to take it public and meet with the chairman and a few of the key executives. And she comes up to me 5-10 minutes before we're about to leave and says, hey, Mr. Hayzlett, should we take color copies? And I said, Caitlin, I said, you get to ask me 21 questions. Is that one of your 21 questions? You get to ask me, where's the best, steakhouse in New York? Where's the best Italian? Does this dress make me look fat? Whatever. Which is the best Subway? I said, is that one of your 21 questions? Because you only get 21. And she says, I don't think so. I said, good answer. Because if I have to answer that question, I don't need you. Okay? I don't need you. I'm hiring you to do a certain job a certain way because we talked about the conditions of satisfaction. So I want you to focus in on what it is you're supposed to be getting done. Let me ask you another question. If I said, yes, we need color copies rather than the black and white ones you made, could you have time to make them? And she says, no. And I said, never ask me another question you already know the answer to. And so those are the things I would tell you right now for those of you looking at doing your business, is make sure you're surrounding yourself with those people who are clock changers and also who are giving you value and thinking ahead of the things that you need and the way you need, because you're creating that kind of environment. That's what I would tell people right now.
Greg, there's too much talk. Just like the t-shirt said, just do it. It's like with all this stuff. I just upgraded the cameras we had because the old ones, he was 97, so I had to upgrade a lot of stuff. Now I'm working with the most, up-to-date cameras, and they're talking about, oh, this has to be done and that. So I just went out and started doing it. We got a bunch of kids tested,
Yeah, well, you can get a good 4K camera now for $57. And my television show on Bloomberg that I used to have, primetime television show, #1 business show, The C-Suite with Jeffrey Hayzlett, I remember spending $10,000 a day to rent a 4K camera. And that was just a few years ago. Now you can buy one on Amazon for $57.
These are
4K?
I call them
4K.
cameras, but they're computers that look into the children's eyes. And I'll tell you what, it's quite a feeling when you see a little happy face come up and you take a picture and it says green, they passed. But then when that little happy face comes up and you take the picture and you look to the left and it's red and it says amblyopia, myopia, and this little kid, and then they don't find out. We give it to the teacher. But at least we got them, at least they're going to be taken care of. That's the thing.
Well, good job. Keep up that great work.
It's quite amazing, Jeff, what Better Vision for Children does, and we have a lot of mentors. Where actually vision isn't just eye vision; it's vision, goals, and dreams. And we work with a lot of people like yourself to get involved with these kids and get involved with the youth on a mentor level. We're building a TV channel right now for children that want to build their vision, goals, and dreams, that want to learn from entrepreneurs like yourself, and hopefully we can have more conversations like that. And I want to give a couple of shout outs to Ebony, who was tuned in, and Karen, which is actually going to be running and hosting, producing our Influence to Income Pitch Your Way to Profits Summit, which I'm hoping we can have you on. I know you're a busy guy, you're a busy schedule, but love to have you come on and speak on that stage. And just for people that are watching on the possibility, do you think that's a possibility we could get you on that stage in August? Are you going to be around?
Absolutely. We just try to work it around. I got a family reunion. I got about 100 of my relatives getting together in West Virginia. So it's going to be a great weekend. So we'll find us time.
Oh, cool. My girl's got property out there. I'd love to know more about what you're doing in West Virginia. And a big shout out as well to CIE Fashion Magazine. They have over 250,000 subscribers, a big supporter of ours. We appreciate them. And everybody else that's tuned in, everybody that's watching the archive, watching the replay of this, watching on Roku TV, Apple TV, wherever you might be watching from. This is a very educational, insightful show. I hope you got some good golden nuggets. I don't know about you guys, but I got golden nuggets. I got barbecue sauce. I got honey. I got sweet and sour. I got the whole, I was taking notes. So I appreciate all the advice and the time today. Jeffrey, any last words you want to leave our listening audience or your fans that'll be watching? Because I'm sure that we'll be pushing this out on your platforms.
Hey, from the Blue Comedy Hour, just get her done, man. Go get her done. Let's go.
Get it done. There you go.
Well, so I want to say I commend you on the C-Suite network that you have built, as well as is it Susan or who's your team? Let's give some shout outs to some of your team.
Well, I got probably Allison is who you were mostly talking to, or Marilyn. Allison's my producer, Marilyn's my assistant, but my CEO is Trisha Ben.
Trisha, that's what it is. Trisha, yeah, I know Trisha. I've been on the Zooms a couple times.
And then Carl Post, you met Carl, my co-partner, my founder and co-partner,
and then let's not forget about is it Linda that does the lead her ship C-Suite?
Yeah, Linda Fisk, lead her ship. She does that. One of our many communities and councils. We have a number of those. We were just with them all down in Dallas last week.
So for people that might be interested in getting involved or maybe be in a chapter of what you guys do, something like what Linda does, how does that work? Because I know that a couple of people asked me that question.
Reach out to us. You can. There's my name, and you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We'll respond right away. But or reach me at Jeffrey.Hayzlett at C-SuiteNetwork.com. C-Suite.
Jeffrey, I got to teach you this, man. When you're doing it the easy way, you just got to tell them to go to your eZWay profile and everything that you just mentioned, everything.
There you go. Well, that's everything what they should is do. On
there. We got there you. We go. So if you guys download the app, you look up Jeffrey Hayzlett, you just look up his profile. And we have what's called the eZWay Wall of Fame, and we honor a lot of people. We do the eZWay Awards Golden Gala every year. The last one we just did was amazing. Our last Lifetime Achievement Award winner was AC Green with the NBA. And we honor people that are heroes and legends leaving legacy. And it sounds to me like you're in a point right now where you are leaving legacy to many, especially your grandkids. And we want to help you do that as much as possible. We want to help anybody that's at that point. And we have a special appreciation award that we want to give you too on today's show for giving all the information and the time that you did today. And I know how busy people like your schedules are, but to take time to be on broadcast, I mean, it really was beneficial to a lot of our audience. They're going to learn a lot from this. So we want to give you the Broadcast Appreciation Award. We do this to very, very rare people that we bring on the show, but we wanted to give you the Broadcast Appreciation Award that we do here on RBL, eZWay Network. So officially, me and my dad, Better Vision for Children, eZWay Network, and Dad, do you think we can include the sitting county of Los Angeles?
I can work that out.
Yeah, so we'll get you out some special plaque and like some certificates and stuff to make it official. But we also do that in person as well. So if you want to make it an official ceremony, I mean, this isn't just me talking to you. This is a real actual award. It's like a Marquis Who's Who in America type of award that we give out. I also had an award named after me by the city and county of Los Angeles. I'm getting ready to get they're giving me a key to the city. A lot of different things are getting ready to happen, and we're collaborating with a lot of people like yourself to make bigger impact, influence, impact to income. And so I look forward to the growth of that. And I wanted all the people that are watching right now to see that growth, see that potential. But really, the fact that you're willing to be accessible to help other people grow is the biggest reason we want to honor you today and appreciate that. Highlight that.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And it's been a pleasure being on the show.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you, Jeffrey. Thank you so much. So, guys, leave your comments to Jeffrey. If you have any questions, we'll hopefully have them on the Influence Income virtual stage coming up. And Jeffrey, it's been a blast. I hope we have you back. We'll definitely have you back if possible. And we'll catch you later. And thank you to all of the Jeffrey fans that are watching as well. And please follow us at eZWay Family. Our eZWay Family. Go follow Jeffrey Hayzlett on his Instagram and his eZWay profile. And Jeffrey, will make sure we get you a lot of different reviews. So everybody that's watching, make sure you go to Jeffrey's profile on the eZWay, Wall of Fame, and go to his review section where you can leave a review, because I want to get as much, and we'll call this a waterfall effect. We want to get as many people to support you as possible, Jeffrey, so you see who really actually supports this interview. So look for his profile, guys, and then click on review, and then go down and leave a review on his profile. So thanks again, Jeffrey, for being a wonderful guest on Radio Boomers Live. We appreciate it.
All I want to do is relate to you. Stay grounded.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
All right, Jeffrey Hayzlett, everybody. That was amazing show. Yes. Another great episode of Radio Boomers Live, Dad. I love doing this show with you. We have a lot of people tuning in, watching right now, guys. If you want to leave your comments, last final words, last comments, last opportunities for Jeffrey, for the show. If you want to come on the show, we're looking for your comments. We'll bring them on screen. Ebony says, thank you, Jeffrey. Karen says, thank you for your time. Think big, act bigger from CIE Fashion Magazine. So many other comments. Any words on Better Vision for Children? You want to tell them what's coming up, Dad? We have a lot of events coming up, a lot of different situations. We're meeting with the head district advisor person for the Orange County. Like, give them some inside information so they know why they want to follow eZWay and get more involved with the Orange County stuff that we're doing.
And my advice for Jeffrey, for those of you that weren't on the show earlier, staying grounded. He got hit by lightning in his house, so I got Eric. So Wednesday, I believe it's Wednesday, and we have Eric's going to be meeting the supervisor and some what was it? The mayor, a couple of mayors, and there's a lot of people.
Many mayors.
I don't have my notes with me now, but yeah, Better Vision for Children. I'm setting up more testing, and don't forget, we bring awareness to children's eyesight. We're going to be bringing as much testing as possible, getting more cameras, and our Part 2 vision we've been putting together, working with foster kids. And with them, we'll also be doing eye testing, along with mentoring and field trips.
Yeah. So, and then also too, guys, we have a big event coming up on September 7th, and first ever official VIP pitch party. We call it Dinner and a Pitch. It's a gold carpet, massive amount of press. It's going to be here in Orange County, Vocal Laguna Hills. And we have a big summit coming up called Influence to Income, pitch your way to profits. And so you'll learn a lot from people like Jeffrey. We also have Don Green from the CEO of Napoleon Hill Foundation, Greg Reed, the executive producer of the Wishman movie on Netflix and creator of Secret Knock. Omar Periu, 32-time best-selling book author, and superstar speaker. We're talking to so many amazing people that are coming on board. So many more are interested. It's going to be a big 3-day virtual summit that you guys can subscribe to. You can register to at ezwayevents.com. We hope to have you. And thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you join us again next week, same time, 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Keep doing it the easy way, and we'll be back next week.
bbccharity.org, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Radio Boomers Live will be signing out.
All right, guys, keep doing it the easy way. We'll catch you guys real soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Have a good week.
You're watching eZWayTV, powered by eZWayNetwork.com.
Take the pledge.